So hi everyone, this is Natalie Pace, and I wanted to talk to you today about debt solutions, real debt solutions. A lot of us think that if we just add up all of the receipts, that somehow if we stop being a shopaholic, that our life is going to improve. And that would have worked in the last century, but that's not what's happening in this century. In this century, the way to improve your life has to be looking at the big ticket items. So we're going to start on day one. So today's theme is the Thrive budget. So if you're waking up every day and you're thinking about paying down debt, or if you're getting regular calls from debt collectors, or if you're worried because you have very high interest debt, then today what I want you to do is to start by isolating the real problem, which are the big ticket items. So let's take a look at what the Thrive budget is all about. So you can access these web apps, these free web apps at nataliepace.com. Just click on the badge, and then we're going to email you the links to access them. So you may have to check your spam folder. But here's what it looks like. It's this simple. It takes about 5 minutes. And all it's asking you, and by the way, this is gross, not net. How much do you make every year? So let's say you make 100,000, then it immediately will pop up and it'll say, oh, look at that. Well, you can spend $50,000 a year on basic needs. And by the way, basic needs is not just housing. It's housing and transportation and health insurance and taxes and food. So anything that you need to survive, 50% of your budget should be going there, not 90% or more, because then you are forced to put other things like emergencies on credit cards. And that's where the problem is coming in. We're spending too much on basic needs. Now you might think, well, how in the world can I get down to 50% of my budget in today's world? Have you taken a look at rent? Have you taken a look at housing costs? Well, yes, of course I have. That's my job. And yes, it doesn't look like there's an easy solution. And that's probably why we have a massive increase in multi-generational housing. And it's also why we have a massive increase in consumer debt. So this is what consumer debt now looks like. It's higher than ever. Higher than ever. And by the way, the red stuff, the blue stuff is at least mortgage debt. And most people are a little bit, have at least a little amount of equity. And some people are equity rich. There still are, unfortunately, over 2 million people that are severely underwater on their mortgage. But this is an issue, this massive amount of debt this is just the consumer debt. It's not got the public debt or the corporate debt or the municipal debt or the sovereign debt or the state debt in there. This is just the consumers. So clearly it's indicating that people are taking on debt just to make ends meet. That is something that helps the banks at your expense. So you might say, well, there's no solutions to this. There's no way that I'm going to be able to spend only 50% of my income on basic needs. Well, that's where you have to get creative. So what I want you to do today is to stop killing your horse before you even jump on it to ride it. Stop beating yourself up or beating the idea of the Thrive budget up. Instead, think, what is a creative solution that I might adopt that will help me to reduce my big ticket expenses? I'm going to give you a few ideas. I threw out one early on, which is multi-generational housing. So don't think, if you're millennial or you're Gen Z wants to, spend the first 2 years of college studying at home through the junior college, that could be that they're going to get a better degree for half the cost. If after college they want to move in and remodel the basement or put an RV on in the yard, that will help them to be able to afford to buy their own house. So when I was a young single mom and my budget didn't add up, and that's how I ended up inventing the Thrive budget, which isn't an actual invention. It's just, common sense. A lot of people say always put 10% into, pay yourself first and all of this. I just got very forensic about it and said into tax protected retirement accounts. And by the way, that's another way that you can stop making everybody else rich at your own expense. How much are you spending on health insurance? Now, a lot of you might not even know, and you might even think that your employer provides it for you. But if you look on your statement, your wage statement, that's where you're going to see how much you're spending on health insurance. And many times you can go to the high, no, only if you're healthy, not if you're not healthy. But if you're healthy and you're spending an arm and a leg on medical insurance, you can go to the highest deductible, get a health savings account. The amount that you save in your medical premiums more than pays for the health savings account that you can contribute every year. You also get a tax credit, so that's going to reduce your taxes. So again, you have to start learning the ABCs of money that we all should have received in high school. I don't want to overwhelm you today. I only want you to do three things. Number one, mock up your own Thrive budget, and then only write down the big ticket items. Don't go through all of the things that you spend on clothes and, little tiny things for yourself, like going to the movies. Yes, if you are a shopaholic and you go to the movies every night and you eat out every night, that's a problem. However, that's not really the problem for most people. The real problem is that wages have fairly stagnated for 20 years, while assets like housing and medical insurance and transportation costs have gone absolutely astronomically high. So your solution is going to be in the big ticket items. So number one, mock up your Thrive budget and know how much you should be spending. That's an easy equation. If you know how much you make every year, half of that is what you should be spending every single year on basic needs. And if you want to take it again to the monthly level, that's fairly easy. So you just go back to that pie chart. And of course, you could do this math easily yourself. So if you had 50,000 and you just divide that by 12 so that you know how much you should be spending every single month on all of your basic needs, not just housing. So including that medical insurance, including your budgeting. So it's about $4,167. Now, if you're spending more of that on housing, transportation, food, clothing, taxes, and health insurance, that's the problem. That's why you're going in debt. Now, the Thrive budget does have the Thrive part of it too. In fact, that's why we play the billionaire game. So when we're finished addressing how to fix the basic needs, we will start looking more at how to thrive better. But for today, number one, know what your monthly budget for basic needs should be right now, which is half of your income, not the net income, the gross income, because the goal is also to get our tax bill lower. Many really wealthy people pay, much lower tax rates than earned income is the highest tax rate. So you want to start getting smart about tax strategies as well. Health savings accounts are one of those. So if you start out by knowing, addressing the problem, which is the big ticket spending, knowing what your Thrive budget is. And then the third thing I want you to do is to start asking yourself, and do this also in a subconscious way. Do it right before you go to sleep. Ask this one question. What can I do to get my basic needs down to half of my income? What brave choices could I make? Where would I live? What kind of health insurance would I have? Do I need to have a car? Did you know that most people spend about $7,500 a year at least on transportation? And if you went to micro-mobility and work from home and got rid of the car, would you then have $7,500 more in your budget? If you own your own home, should you be powering by solar? People that power by solar tend to have a $35 a month electric bill. Is yours over $200? That's thousands of dollars annually. We've just identified $10,000 in electric bill and transportation costs. Health insurance costs can be in the, definitely in the thousands, but for a lot of people in the tens of thousands. And going to that highest deductible and building up your own health savings account can be your best long-term healthcare plan. So those things are what you should do today. Identify the big ticket issue, know what your budget really should be for basic needs. Ask yourself the question about what brave choices you should be making to get your basic needs expenditures to half of your income. And if you haven't yet done it, download the ABCs of Money and make sure it's the 4th edition. I'm going to be writing the 5th edition in August, so it will probably be available in September or October of 2021. So just to make sure that you're getting the most recent one, and I would recommend that you read it now. Don't wait until next October. It only costs $5. That's not going to be breaking your budget. Just go to nataliepace.com and click on that book cover, and it will take you over to Amazon. As you can see, if you buy it in the US on the Kindle version, it's only $4.20. So this is not going to break your budget. So read the debt and the Thrive budget sections of that book as well. Okay. All right. I will see you tomorrow for day 2, and we'll start thinking about and looking into some of the choices that we can be making a little bit more. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. But you do have a lot on the to-do list. Know your budget, know how much you are spending on basic needs, and start asking yourself how you're going to make brave choices so that you can stop making everybody else rich at your own expense and have money to live a richer life and to start thriving and to reduce your debt. Now, one last thing. If you're in debt, it's a budgeting problem. A lot of people think if I just pay off my debt, everything's going to be okay. But if you're still living the same life that you led that led you into debt, then you're not addressing the real problem. So you must adopt a Thrive budget before you can actually get out of debt. All right, I'll see you tomorrow.